first, grade 2s will come later today, and grade 1s will finish the day. So at the end of today, we will have an idea of some of the teams. Some teams have more of these lower grade riders, so more riders will have ridden, and other teams may rely more on those higher grade riders. So teams like the Netherlands have 3 riders who will go tomorrow. So it's all to play for. These Grand Prix B tests also the second qualifier for these individual riders to go through to the freestyle final. So all riders will ride in this Grand Prix B test, whether they are on a team or not, which is a great way for riders to get into the arena twice at least. So really, really happy with this development of the competition. And this first rider coming forward for the grade 3, representing France. She was a silver medalist in the individual competition just 2 days ago. It's Chiara Zanatti, and she rides the 17-year-old gelding Swing Royale LFCE. And France having some really good results over the last few days. And we're probably going to be looking at 3 riders needing to score around 73% to get onto the podium for the team. And Chiara having some super results this year, so definitely capable of scores in that region. And that would be a really positive start for France. But the scores from the individual not counting, so it's a fresh playing field. And a really nice start for this rider. You can see that riding with one hand, that right side affected by her disability, so that weaker side, so using that whip on that right side to try and give the horse a more equal feel, a more equal support of the body to keep that straightness, and doing a really good job of that. They're a super partnership, this combination. This horse formerly ridden by a grade 4 rider for France and passed on to Chiara as more of a schoolmaster role, but really showing some nice quality and have had some really good results as they've built this partnership. Just almost stepping out on that pirouette, but doing a very good job of catching that outside hind leg. These walk movements really come up quite quickly in this test, and especially if you have to lean forward and give the rein like she does. It's very quickly moving from that medium walk into the free walk and then back into that medium walk. So the horse must be very adjustable, very amenable for you to be able to ride those transitions into and out of that free walk quite quickly, so you can really show off the walk. And again, stepping across a little bit, but doing a really good job of catching those hind legs. Showing some nice steps in this walk work. You just want to see the horse a little bit more over the back and relax for those bigger steps, but showing some really nice, a really nice consistent rhythm through that. And nicely establish that halt. Just a little bit resistant in that rein back. So it's 2 to 4 steps, and you just got the feeling that you got a bit stuck after that second step. And again, that rein back into the medium trot, you really don't have much time on that short side to set the horse up, get the horse in front of you ready for that medium. Really nicely across in that leg yield. And now this 4-loop serpentine with these walk transitions over the centre line. Really testing the horse's obedience, the suppleness. Good placement of those transitions. You want to see those steps evenly across that centre line, and she's done that very nicely, very cleanly through that serpentine. Just you could just see that last loop a little bit shallow, but showing a very good balance. Yeah, nicely into that leg yield. Just having to give a little bit of encouragement towards the end of that slightly weaker side. And then down the centre line. Into a good halt. And they are very pleased. A very good start for France. Really nicely and well presented test. And a clean test, just what they needed to kick off their team competition for France. They're really building up this team and squad ahead of those Paralympics next year. And this combination just gives a really easy picture. You can just see sometimes the pole dropping at times, but keeping the horse in a really nice balance and has a really easy way of going about them. So a super start to this grade 3 competition, and also a clean test for her to qualify through for that freestyle final on Saturday, so that she can ride for that, hopefully, second individual medal. Just looking back, waiting for that score. Some Danish supporters in the crowd. So Denmark with just 3 riders here in the team. And we've not had any live scores come through, so they'll be waiting eagerly for that final score. Seems to be a little bit of a delay, but hopefully we will have those shortly. France will have their second rider going later in the grade 1, and then their final 2 riders will go tomorrow in the grade 4 and 5. So we'll have 2 of their scores by the end of today. But again, often very difficult to get a feel for where the teams are, and some of the teams are by the end of today, because for some teams they will be looking more at the higher grade scores as their big hitters. but it will give us an idea about whether some of the riders are scoring their expected scores or have gone above that. And our second rider just coming through now in this class, representing Ireland. It's Katie Reilly. She rides the 10-year-old gelding Impulse W. And Katie had a bit of a difficult ride on that first day. The horse a little bit spooky and doing a really good job of managing him, and she'll be hoping that he is a bit more settled today, but looking like he's taking a bit of offence to that big screen. He had a few issues at the bottom of the arena earlier this week, and you can just see they're just not quite as happy as she would like him to be. She's saying, okay, here we go again. And it's such a difficult feeling when the horse just freezes through his body. Well done, Katie, just getting him around that top section. Yeah, good job, just giving him a pat. Katie, not even 16 years old, making her championship debut here, and did a very matured ride earlier this week to coax him through that Grand Prix A for the individual competition. And just, yeah, take your time, well done. Just doing a very good job to try and build his confidence through that test, hoping that he came out a little bit more settled today. And really difficult, you can just see where it's so sunny. It goes from very bright sunshine to these dark shadows, and there's a lot of tents and activity set up behind this arena. So she's just circled, so she will have an error of course, but managed to get him back on that line. And I think she's going to have to do a really good job of just coaxing him around again. Yeah, well done. Just really going with him when he comes back to her. And she's got a really difficult turn at the top here with this left circle to this right turn. And he just isn't happy round this top, but really well done. Really managed to get her leg on him just to get him to soften. And that is a very tricky line at the best of times. You've got that left 10 meter circle, just a stride but to straighten them up, and then that right turn into the corner. And you can't really cut that corner off because you have to make that walk transition at that corner marker. So a really delicate line to ride at the best of times, but when the horse is spooking and bracing, it's really tricky. So Katie doing a very good job of manoeuvring him through that section. And showing some good stretch here. The horse actually really trying in between the moments he's getting distracted. And doing a fab job of, you can just see she just keeps trying to pat him and settle him and get him to relax, and really not a great feeling when you're on that, but some good steps in that pirouette actually to the left, and yeah, just deciding to retire on this occasion. He just really wasn't wasn't settled for her, and that's such a shame for her. But a very mature decision and a very difficult decision. But just putting her horse first. And I'm sure she will be gutted to have had to do that. She's had some very nice results this year to get selected. And this horse, a really talented horse when he's going at his best here, but just not quite comfortable in that arena, which is a real shame. But I'm sure Katie has learnt a lot from this week, and they'll both come back better and ready to tackle their next adventure. There's Jessica McKenna just walking past, getting ready for her ride later in this class, the second Irish rider. So we'll have 4 more riders left to go in this first group of riders. So all riders coming forward to ride this second qualifier to go through for the freestyle on Saturday. But the team scores will only count from this next 2 days. So any results from the previous test not counting towards that team final score. And this next rider just getting ready to come forward. And she had a super first day of competition, taking that individual bronze medal for Germany in front of that home crowd. Germany having a fab first day of competition, and finishing with a 4th medal yesterday in the grade 5 with Regine, so looking very strong as a team if they can repeat the sort of performances they had in that individual. And she is due down the centre line at 9:18, so riders can come in a little bit early if they would like to, if the class is running early, but they are entitled to stick to their time. And she comes forward into the arena now. So representing Germany, Melanie Wienand, she rides the 10-year-old gelding, Lemonnie's Loverboy.
Here is it, your result. At 74%, at age 72.167, C scores 74.833, and M72%. E 70.833%.
And those scores just coming through for France. You just could see them on that big screen, looking like just over 72% for France. So a very nice score for them. But into the arena now for Germany. A very confident start for them. And again, this Grand Prix tests are a little bit more difficult than the Grand Prix A, so designed to increase in difficulty throughout the week to give the horses a bit of confidence on day one. So you'll notice in this test The lines are a little bit tighter. The serpentine has increased from 3 loops to 4 loops. So the horse needing a very nice level of balance and impulsion to get through the movements, and showing this off very nicely at the moment through this trot section. Riding those lines in a very nice way, in a very nice balance as they move from left to right. Really highlights the horse's suppleness and straightness. Oh, and just, yeah, very, very clever through that pirouette, just almost losing activity, and she just caught that before he stuck and picked that up, showing that better positioning through that second half. And we'd like to see a little bit more difference through that free walk for those bigger marks, but really showing a nice consistent rhythm. So there wasn't a huge amount of difference from that free walk to that medium walk for those much bigger marks. And nicely through that turn on the haunches. And the horse staying really relaxed. Just not quite stepping through with that right foreleg, but very good behind, very good immobility. Really important to establish that immobility before that rein back, which she did nicely. And again, this horse doesn't show the biggest difference through those mediums, but stays in a very nice balance and a very nice rhythm through this trot work. And you can just see, yeah, lovely transition into that leg yield. You really want to show that straightness on that 3/4 line, and then the judges want to see that moment of transition as you go over the EB line. As you hit that line, you want to see that moment where you ask for the leg yield and the horse responds. You don't want to see that drifting into it. There needs to be a really clear, definite moment of transition into that leg yield. The horse just getting a little bit on the forehand through those walk transitions. You really want to keep the balance back on the hind legs and the horse stepping up and forward into that, but cleanly through the serpentine, a double coefficient. And just losing a little bit of the lift through the trot as she went into that leg yield, but very obediently across. The horse just anticipating that haunch, said keep trotting. But very, very nice test for Germany. Another clean test in this grade 3. Just really holding her nerve in front of this home crowd. And Melanie, a very nice scorer for the German team, so they will be pleased for her to put forward a solid performance as part of their campaign. And we'd expect the Dutch contingent to be putting forward a very strong team score, but Germany showing some really promising results in that individual competition. And this their first rider to go. This will be a very positive start for them as a team.
Hier ist das Ergebnis für Landeshaber für Melanie Wienand bei ihr 75%, bei Haar 74,5%.
The score's just coming through now.
Und bei M 72,5. Und bei P, da sind es 72,5.
She was sitting on just over 73, so I think they'll be very happy. And there we have it, 73.933. So a fantastic score for that German team. And they'll have Heidemarie coming later in the grade 2. And their third rider, Martina Benzinger, also a medalist in that grade 1 later today. So by the end of today, we should have a very good idea of where that German team are sitting. With their fourth rider coming forward in that grade 5 tomorrow. And it's really interesting to see how these different teams are utilizing the different grades. There's a real combination of different grades throughout these teams. So some of them will have more results today than others. But it really makes it interesting for the final results because it's all to play for over the 2 days and nothing is fully decided for a lot of them until tomorrow.
Weiter geht's Antrag 1 in der Teamentscheidung. Zunächst einmal ist es Grade 3 hier bei den FEI.
And the next rider coming through into the arena now, representing Belgium, is Barbara Minneci, and she rides the 14-year-old gelding Stuart.
Minneci, 14 aus Tokio bei den Paralympischen Spielen seit 2009 schon.
And Belgium also another team that has the ability to have a very good average score for the team. They had that huge score from Michelle George yesterday in that grade 5. And that won't count, but it does show what sort of score she is capable of putting forward. Also, Manon Clay's a medalist in that grade 4. So those grade 4 and 5 riders will come forwards tomorrow. They also had Kevin Van Ham, so they'll have 3 riders tomorrow. And if Barbara can put forward a solid score for the team, that will put them off to a good start. Also riding for her own qualification through to that freestyle final on Saturday. This horse, a very solid partnership, this combination. Been together for a few years, a medalist at the last Europeans in 2019. Really nicely through that first trot section. Just keeping that consistent rhythm through the trot, showing some nice bending through these circles, really nicely ridden through that circle to that turn, keeping a very good control of the horse's body, really highlighting that true bend. Sometimes you see a bit of counterflexion through there where the rider loses control of the horse and the horse's balance gets affected, but really nicely through that first trot section. And cleanly through that turn on the haunches. Just losing a bit of position towards the end, but the horse keeping the activity. Showing some nice stretch here. And the horse doesn't have the biggest walk that we'll see in this class. Looking for that V shape as the hind leg steps into the print of the forelimb, or over for those horses with the bigger stride. But doing a super job of just riding that rhythm consistently through this walk work, and showed some really nice positioning for that turn on the haunches. Just getting a little bit long and down in that balance, so she'll need to pick him up. Just not, there we go. Good boy. So did a good job of waiting for that. You could just see the balance a little bit on the front, so then you get that dragging steps. And yeah, just having to pick him up in the corner there so that she can prepare for this medium. You can see that friendly horse in the corner, so riders in the lower grades in this grade 3 and the 2s and 1s able to bring another horse into the arena to give the horse confidence. Just losing a little bit of straightness in that leg yield. Just saw the horse just falling through that right shoulder a little bit. And then those quarters trail. Cleanly through. This serpentine, the horse just snatching a little bit as we went through that last walk transition, just not quite sitting on those hind legs enough. You could just see the horse just falling a little bit in front through that walk transition, and it came out in the rain. But nicely over on that second leg yield. And this looking like an improvement in her score. Just doing a good job of just keeping him up to the bridle through that turn, just dropping on that turn a little bit, but she just gave him a little check and said, no, we're not done yet. And a good score for Belgium, I think that will be, and a very good test as part of her individual campaign to qualify through for that freestyle. And such a fiddly test, and you can see when it's ridden nicely and in balance, it looks so easy, but when the horse isn't taking you or is having a little spook, it makes it very, very difficult to ride those lines. A real test of the horse's balance and adjustability as you move between those movements. And that's because the test's not able to include canter, so really ramping up the difficulty within that trot. And here are the scores: 71.267. So that puts her into third place in this class, but also a very nice score for Belgium as they start their team campaign. So there we see Kevin, Michelle and Manon will come forward tomorrow. So we'll have to wait to see what they are able to do. And Michelle, the likely big hitter in that team, will go in that grade 5 class tomorrow. So Michelle and Kevin riding in that grade 5, and the grade 5 will go in the morning. So Manon, that final rider to go for the Belgian team. And there's 2 riders for the Netherlands also sitting in that grade 4, so it's likely to be a very influential class tomorrow, I think. But a very good score for Belgium to start their team campaign. And the next rider forward is representing Spain. And Spain with just 3 riders coming forward for this championship, and Felix having to unfortunately withdraw from his grade 2 in the individual competition, which looked like it might have pushed Spain out of the competition for a team, but he is back on that start list for today. So it looks like they are allowing him to ride, and Spain will keep a place in that team competition, which is great for them because they only had 3 riders and a super halt to start. So next in the arena for Spain is Carla Onrubia Roman, riding the 20-year-old gelding Fuestano. And she will also be riding for that spot in the final. And getting really off to a good start. She was 7th in the individual on 68.033 and is already building on that. Really riding for those high marks today. And really riding for more power, but keeping that balance through that trot section in a really nice way. This horse, not the biggest horse in the competition, but that means she is able to ride forward and really ride for that expression whilst having a bit more time through those movements. So doing a super job through that trot section. And very nice positioning, just a little bit rushed at one point, just losing that balance a bit and speeding up in that tempo, but very nice positioning, cat stepping. You just want to see a bit more stretch down and out here, so the horse needing to be a little bit more over the back. So could have just prepared him for that a little bit better going into that free walk. We just saw almost getting better towards the end. And those marks just reflecting that a little bit. Just needing to be careful not to hurry him too much. But super positioning through there. Really well ridden. Just wanting to see him a little bit more over the back, a little bit softer for those higher marks. But showing some good steps through this walk work. You can just see a little bit of holding in the body. And a super halt again. Just ducking down a bit in front, but really bold steps and nicely into this trot work. And some really nice steps through that medium. Carla doing a good job with this test. Just really want to make that turn onto that 3/4 line very clear. Just almost drifted onto it a little bit and then lost that first straight section a tiny bit, but not all of the judges will have seen that in the same way. And the horse just very much anticipating that trot transition, but cleanly through that serpentine. And again, you can just see just starting to fall a little bit through the shoulder in anticipation of this leg yield. And then you don't get that very clear transition into it. And it does affect those marks for that trot on the 3/4 line. But a very nice halt to finish, and she looks very pleased. Another nice ride for this combination, and again a lot of potential still coming through, still more marks to gain from this pair. Some super trot work this horse is capable of, and a very nice size for this test. It's a very fiddly test, so actually if you have a smaller horse that has the ability to move in a big scopy way, it really allows you to ride them forwards and show that off. And you could see that's what she was able to do through a lot of that trot work. So big smiles for Spain. And she'll have to wait on to see what the remaining riders can do to see where she finishes individually. And 67.200. So just slightly under her score from the individual. But again, another solid score, and hopefully she might slot into that top 8. And there's the first score for the Spanish team. And all 3 riders will ride today for Spain. So they will have a final team score by the end of today. So they have a second rider in this grade 3 later on in the second group. And then Felix will ride in that grade 2 following this class. Clive Milkin sat in the stand. Does a lot of work with Team Canada, and I think has also been helping one of the Irish riders. And just one more rider left to go in this first group of grade 3 riders. And then we will have a short break before the second group. 11 riders in this grade 3 class. And this final rider coming forward now, representing Portugal, riding the 12-year-old stallion Grigio. And not far to come from the warm-up, so very nice for riders to be able to maintain that feeling they had in the warm-up. Without having to have too much of a gap. So representing Portugal, it's Pedro Felix on this 12-year-old stallion Grigio. And this combination scored 63.3 in that individual competition, riding that Grand Prix A. So looking to build on that today, riding as an individual, so not in a team. So it's really nice that they get at least 2 opportunities in the arena. Some nice steps through that medium. The horse really showing a difference, just unfortunately losing a bit of balance coming back on this right turn. You could just see that trot rhythm not staying the same through that right circle. Much better to the left. And again, just coming through on that right turn again. So that will unfortunately be expensive. And this horse, just want to see him a bit more over the back and a bit more supple to be able to show off those paces a little bit more. Not much better towards the end, not with the biggest movement and the biggest walk we'll see, but the ability to sit and collect, as we saw through that turn on the haunches, is where he can hopefully pick those marks up, and actually showing some better steps as he gave that rein a little bit. And again, riders having to make a bit of a compromise how much they can allow the horse. It's a very tight sequence of movements, really needing to go into that free walk very quickly, collect the walk again for the medium, ready for that walk circle and ready for that turn on the haunches. So for riders who struggle to get the reins back or can't adjust their reins, they have to make this decision about whether they sacrifice a little bit in the free walk and only give a little bit so that they're ready for the next movement, or whether they really go for it in the free walk if they feel able to get the horse back and connect it again in time for that walk circle. So it's a real test of dexterity that not a lot of riders are able to do. So we'll see a few riders will lean forwards and allow the rein in order to be back and ready for that test. But in allowing the rein in that way, you don't always get the best free walk. So sometimes having to make a real compromise on what you can show to the best of your ability, but also be ready for that next movement. It's not much use if you can get an 8 for the free walk and then the following 2 movements you get a 4 or 5 because you're not quite ready or a horse is out of control. So really got to weigh this up in advance, and as a rider know what your game plan is, and then you've got to feel what the horse is doing and respond to that. So a little bit of jogging through this serpentine, which unfortunately is a double coefficient, so is going to be a little bit expensive for Pedro. But some super trot steps there. Just unfortunately losing the rhythm again in that leg yield, so the horse not truly through and supple enough at times, so really coming out in that rhythm unfortunately. But doing a super job of staying calm and riding some good accuracy to try and pull in the marks where he can. So still lots more to come from this partnership. And a really sweet and willing horse with a great temperament, which is a nice place to be in when you enter that arena. Really gives you confidence as a rider, knowing that the horse will try for you. And you can see here that just that one moment where the horse nearly stepped back, but some really nice positioning on those turn on the haunches, and a lot of areas that they can build on and still to pick marks up. So that was the final rider in this first group of riders. And again, not riding as part of a team, Portugal just with an individual rider here. Not with enough riders to make up a team, but a fantastic opportunity to get into the arena twice, whether you're on a team or not. So a really positive part of this para-dressage format. So previously riders just qualifying through from that individual and only getting one chance in the arena if they're not riding for a team and they don't qualify. So great to have that second opportunity in the arena, and also if your first test doesn't go so well, you have that chance to rectify it and to build on that on this second test.
Forward's first result is 10.833% at age 62.667.
And here we have that score, so 62.033, and that puts him into 5th place at this point in the class. So possibly not going to be enough to qualify through for that freestyle final, but another good experience in the arena that he can use for the future. And this is the current standings for the teams based on those first few riders going. So Germany sitting at the top of the table and France in 2nd at the moment, with Belgium in that bronze place. And here we have it. So we have a short break now as we prepare for that second group of riders, and we'll be back at 10:30. welcome back to this team competition. We have our second group in this Grade 3 Grand Prix B. 5 riders coming forward in this group. These riders all riding for their individual qualifier to get through to that freestyle final on Saturday, but also these scores going through for this team competition. We've had an excellent start to this Grade 3. So Germany sitting out in front, France in silver, and Belgium in that bronze medal place. But we have a long way to go for this team competition. And you can just see our next rider doing those last minute preparation before she comes into the arena. The next rider will be for Ireland. And it's quite warm out there, so just saw her having a drink, rehydrating, ready for this test. And Ireland not having the best start to this class. Katie Reilly unfortunately having to retire earlier today. Her horse just not quite settling, but their second rider in, representing Ireland, it's Jessica McKenna. She rides the 13-year-old gelding at Davidoff at 188. And this is Jessica's first championship. But this horse, very experienced, formerly ridden by Caroline Nielsen for Denmark in this Grade 3 class. So entering the arena now for Ireland is Jessica McKenna. And she's had some very good results this year already, sitting around just under that 70% marker. She scored 66.467 and was 8th in the individual competition, so we'll be looking to build on that. And Ireland with Michael to come later in this Grade 1 class today. And their fourth rider will compete tomorrow. And showing some really nice changes of bend through that trot section. Getting off to a good start here with Davidoff. Really nice for her to be making her debut on a horse that has been there and seen the world a little bit. Just giving her that bit of confidence in the arena. And just almost sticking with that inside hind, but just stepping out. She just caught that and he just stepped out a little bit with that left hind, but just about kept the steps. Showing some good stretch here. You see Jessica riding with those loop reins, so choosing to lean forwards to allow the horse to stretch so that she doesn't have to get them back in time for this circle. They're quite fiddly to try and get them back, especially if you also are carrying a whip. Just saw that inside hind just stepping across in that turn on the haunches. So managed to keep the steps, but not quite fully controlling the quarters. really good into that hole. Very square, showing good immobility. Nicely into this trot, so you can just see her there, just jazzing him up a little bit in that corner, ready for this medium trot. A very tricky movement to have that rein back and the horses needing to be in front of you straight away to go into this medium. Just losing those quarters slightly on that 3/4 line, really wanting to show that the straightness of the horse on that before moving into the leg yield. Unfortunately, just saw those quarters swinging out nicely through this first transition. And you can just hear her giving those voice aids. You can just hear the click as she asks to go into trot. So riders in grades 1, 2 and 3 allowed to use the voice as part of their aids. Many of these riders don't have the strength in their legs as that driving aid. So relying on the voice. And you can just hear they're just activating the trot as she comes towards the end of this individual test. And I think that was a definite improvement from a couple of days ago. And another rider who will be really benefiting from this experience. And a big sigh of relief for her and big cheers from the Irish contingent. And a super job. She knew the pressure was on after Katie had to retire, unfortunately. They were down to 3 riders, so every score counting. So a really mature performance under those circumstances. And also riding for that place in the freestyle final as well. And a super job from this young rider. Ireland here with a relatively new team. So Michael, the only person not making his championship debut. So really exciting for them in the future as they build this squad of riders. And a good job there. And a final score of 68.633. So that puts her into 4th place at the moment and really building on that score from the individual 2 days ago. So that's the team result for Ireland. So currently sitting in 4th with just that one score to count. So all the scores just coming from this grade 3 class at the moment, this first class of the team championship. And this next rider to go, so 5 riders in this group, 4 left to go. And this next one going to be another interesting one from a team perspective for Italy. Italy not having the best start a couple of days ago for one of their established riders, Sara Morganti, having a really challenging ride, but Sara capable of pulling in some big scores. So if she can put something solid forward in this grade 3 today from Francesca, then it puts Italy off to a good start. Italy with a few riders in this team capable of putting forward some good scores. Francesca was 5th just a couple of days ago in the individual on 71.3. So a very solid score for her. So she will be riding to try and secure a place in that freestyle final, as well as putting forward something solid for the team. So entering the arena for this next rider, Francesca Salvade, riding for Italy, riding the 6-year-old gelding Ascari. We're seeing a lot of young and new horses at this Europeans, which is really fantastic for the sport and really great for them to gain this valuable experience ahead of the Paralympics next year. So entering the arena now for Italy, Francesca Salvade. Just the horse just thinking a little bit backwards in that first hole. She was very quick to say, no, come on, stay in front of me, we've got a job to do. And this horse just has such a lovely attitude and temperament. Really just get a sense of confidence from this horse. Very comfortable in this environment and in this atmosphere, which is such a fantastic starting point for a young horse. For some, it can take a number of years for them to get to this place, and really helpful for the rider. Super through those turns, really showing off some lovely trot work through this first section. Just a little bit on the large side, so this meant to be an 8-meter circle, so it should hit 2 meters just inside of that line for the center line that you just saw there. Just losing a little bit of that positioning through the turn, but this horse keeping a really nice rhythm through its work. Showing some good stretch through that free walk. And Francesca not really showing a huge transition at E to move up into that collected walk, but choosing to keep the horse quite open. And you can just see that had to lean back a little bit to keep the connection, but showed some really good positioning on that turn on the haunches. The horse keeping stepping. She may have to pick him up a little bit more. You can just see she's just starting to shorten the reins as we look towards this halt, rein back and medium trot movement. There we go. She just leaving that front leg a little bit and not squaring up, unfortunately. You just saw her shorten those reins as she picked him up, ready for this trot section again. Showing some nice steps, but could show a little bit more, but again, just really concentrating on keeping the rhythm. And yeah, and she just went into that a little bit too early, and then you could just see the horse not staying so straight through the neck and the body, just really a little bit too much neck bend through that leg yield, and then she hit the track far too early, really wanting to hit the track just before that corner marker. But showing that nice trot on the 3/4 line and cleanly through the serpentine at the moment. Just that tiny bit of resistance as we come into the walk, but This horse just so obedient. Yeah, so good on that 3/4 line. You just see, as she asks for the leg yield, she just gets a bit too much flexion and really using the neck bend to almost get him across, which is sometimes what riders need to do a little bit when they haven't got that support from the leg, and especially when the horse is a bit younger and maybe just learning the movement. We sometimes just use that little bit of bend to encourage them over, but it does mean that it won't score the big marks. But some super trot work through there and a very good halt to finish, and another really consistent test for this combination. Really exciting and promising horse for the future. He just gives such a nice picture. Looks really settled. She just was able to keep them a bit more together in that first trot section, and you saw some really high scores there. Those leg yields being a bit of a challenge towards the end, but such a super horse and really nicely ridden. Given that horse such a good experience and a very solid score, I imagine, for the team. And here we go, 72.233, so really building on that score from the individual. A very nice score for Italy as a team, so that will very much help their team campaign. That puts the team into bronze medal at this time. So just taking over there from Belgium and Barbara Minneci's score. And pretty much securing herself a spot in that final on Saturday for the freestyle. But a very good start for Italy. And they will have 2 more riders to come forward today in that grade 1 class later on. So we should have a very good idea of where they're sitting at the end of this first day. But next into the arena, another very interesting score for this team competition. Tobias, winner of the individual on Tuesday on a huge score of 77%. And Denmark are down to 3 riders now. Nicole unfortunately withdrew her horse from this team competition. She didn't feel like he was quite feeling himself, so Denmark down to 3 riders now, which does add the pressure a little bit to them. They don't have a drop score anymore, but the pressure always on Tobias. They could really do with him producing one of his very high scores to get the team off to a good start. And he had some super scores in that individual competition, so let's see what he can do today. Riding this 15-year-old mare, Jolene Hill. Tobias, a European, World and Paralympic gold medalist, retaining his title from the 2019 Europeans, where he made the championship debut with this mare. So Entering the arena now for Denmark, Tobias Thorny Jorgensen on Jolene Hill. And not quite settled in that first halt, but this horse sometimes comes in a little bit on her toes, and he fortunately can pick those marks up in the trot work. And just such an expressive horse. They really do make a super picture, and Tobias able to really show this expression off, but also maintain the balance through these turns. Really able to sit that horse back, keep the engagement, keep that expression, ride those turns. You can just see him preparing for that new right bend, and the horse really bending around that inside leg to show off the difference, and you can see the marks just picking up already from that first centre line. Again, that circle looking a little bit on the large side, but really preparing her here for this turn on the haunches. Just using that little bit of leg to just keep that activity through the turn. Showing that stretch off. Nicely into that walk circle. And he used to ride with some loop train, so obviously felt like he didn't quite needed a bit more adjustability off that rein. So that is the downside of the loops. When they're fixed, you can't really adjust them as you're going through the test and respond to the horse and how they're feeling. And again, just these halts being a bit of an issue today, stepping back in that halt, but really able to pick the marks back up once she starts moving again. Such expression through this trot. Just lost a little bit of straightness on that line, just to be super critical, but so easy in the leg yield, and the horse always looks so supple, so willing. Nicely through this serpentine, really highlighting the suppleness of the horse and the change of bend. Not quite 100% with him there. Somebody might be feeling a bit full of herself today. It's a little bit buzzier today than for the individual. I think as people have started to arrive, the venue is alongside the dressage, so probably as the dressage competition kicks off, we're having more and more spectators, which is exactly what the sport needs, but just adding to the atmosphere a little bit. But Tobias does a super job of just keeping a lid on that and producing this really super work. And again, halts not being their top movement of the day, but such quality in all the other elements that they really bring the scores up through the other work, and such an impressive combination to watch in this grade 3. Really cool riding as ever. just really showing off that horse in such a nice way through this test. And it's going to be a big score for them, and big pats for Jolene. He scored 77.767 in the individual. And I think this is going to be another very good one for Denmark. Again, riding for that place in the freestyle final, but I think that's pretty secure for Tobias. He had scores of up to 80% in the individual. And a few issues with those 3 halts. If they can iron those out, there's even more marks to come from that horse. But just such quality in the work. Everywhere else just really pulls those marks up for him. And it's 77.434%. And that goes into the lead. So Denmark now sitting at the top of that team ranking. And that's the sort of scores they were hoping for from Tobias to kick off their team campaign. So a very good start for Denmark. Down to just 3 riders. So every score counting. And just 2 riders left to go in this grade 3 class. The first of the classes for this team championship, grade 3 this morning, grade 2 will follow, and grade 1 go this afternoon. So staying in this short arena for today with the walk and trot tests. And the second rider in this class for Spain coming forward now. Spain also down to just 3 riders for the team. So all 3 scores counting. And this next rider, Maria del Carmen Lopez Garcia, riding the 9-year-old stallion Bribon de Imas. And Maria finished in 9th place in that individual competition on a score of 64.933. So if she can build on this, she could be pushing for that spot in the freestyle final on Saturday, as well as this team competition. There was a little bit of a gap from 9th to 8th, but both scores being combined for that qualification, and that was a very unfortunate start in that halt. Just the horse showing a little bit of tension and not quite settling and stepping back, but very quickly up into this trot work. Yeah, and you can just see on that running score just an expensive centre line, unfortunately. but nicely through into this trot work, showing very good straightness on that centre line. Those circles and centre lines really highlighting the control of the horse's body. You can just see it's getting a little bit busier around the arena. Nicely through that turn, just the horse getting a little bit hot through that turn on the centre line, but showing very nice bend and change of bend. And you can just hear the horse just a bit sneezy in the walk. Just losing that control through that left side. You can just see the horse drifting through there, and just a few signs of that tension coming out, but really trying to stay with his rider. Yeah, well caught. That first half, just the quarter swinging out, and she just did a super job of catching that, and the second half being better than the start. Showing some nice stretch. Hopefully the horse starting to relax a bit. You could just see not quite taking it forward and going into the rein as much as we might like. You can just see that gap in the rein where she's just trying to give him the space and encouraging him to take the rein forwards. But that little bit of tension just holding in the body, but showing some nice steps here, really concentrating. That friendly horse there for confidence for the rider and the horse. Some horses not liking the move away from other horses from the warm-up to the arena where they're on their own, so sometimes that friendly horse just gives the horse confidence and settles them a little bit. Riders in these lower grades are allowed to use that. You can just see she's very cautious through that walk and halt section. She can feel he's a little bit on edge, but very coolly through that, well managed. Up into this trot now. Showing some nice steps through that trot. Stays in a lovely frame when he's up and out into the rein. Yeah, nicely into the leg yield. Just a little bit of drifting through that right shoulder. So then we just saw them reach the track a little bit before that marker, but very fluently through that. Again, these transitions, really looking for the fluency, the suppleness, the change of bend, which is showing nicely through those turns, but the horse just a little bit on edge through the walk sections, but doing a good job just to sit quietly and get those walk steps. This horse has a lot of ability to come back in the trot, and almost using that through those transitions, wanting to come back at her a little bit, that tension showing through rather than those clear walk steps. But this has been very cleverly managed. Maria really responding to how the horse is feeling. And nicely into that final centre line and halt. And big grins for her. A very nice test for Spain. Big sigh of relief, I think, there. I think she could feel that there was a bit of tension, but really genuine and honest horse, just staying with her and really trying. Really keeping it together and producing some nice work through there. Still more to come from this combination. But building on that first individual test earlier this week, and great that they've had this second opportunity in the arena. We weren't sure if Spain would have a complete team after Felix unfortunately had to withdraw from his individual test, but he will be coming forward again in the grade 2. And a super ride for Maria there. And a score of 66.533%, so that puts her into 8th place. So really building on that score from a couple of days ago. And we still have one rider left to go in this class, so unfortunately that might just sit outside that top 8 after this final rider goes. Just missing out on that freestyle final, but a very good effort and another good experience for this combination on this European stage. And Pran Sata E. And just one rider left to go. So there's your score for the Spanish team. 2 scores already there. So 133.733 is their current total. Felix still to go in the grade 2 class that follows. And a very exciting start to this team competition. We've had some super scores, some scores either on prediction or above prediction. And this next rider to go, another team looking to make their mark on this stage. They were part of the Dutch winning team at the World Championships last year. The Netherlands with some very strong scores in the individual classes yesterday. So their 3 predicted highest scores should come from those 2 grade 4 riders and Frank in the grade 5. So they'll come forward tomorrow. But a solid score from Lotta would definitely help them to get their campaign off to a good start. So entering the arena for the Netherlands, Lotta Crinson, riding the 17-year-old mare Rosenstolz NOP. Lotta just missing out on an individual medal 2 days ago by 0.1%. And she looks like she's really riding for it again today. Just sitting on the edge through that medium trot. But managing to maintain that balance. And a super start for them. This horse was a little spooky coming in for the individual. But a very established partnership, and she knows this horse inside out, knows how much to push her, feels very confident in doing that, and a very powerful trot section. Just got to keep that relaxation as well as that power. And Lotta, previously a grade 4 rider, but as some disabilities can increase and riders are affected more and more as it develops. So moving down to this grade 3. just a little bit unsettled on that circle. Not quite seeing the harmony that we would like, and again, almost going for it a little bit too much and causing that disruption in the rhythm through there. Some nicer steps through this walk here. And just not quite stepping forward into that hole. And quickly up into this trot. And flying into that medium. Really going for it in this test. Just needing to watch the balance at times. Yeah, super straight on that 3/4 line. And a little bit, just drifting a little bit through that shoulder for the bigger marks. You just see Lotta just shifting her weight over to try and drive her across. I don't know, she looks like she might be feeling a little bit lucky, so Lotta just getting in there, not giving her the chance to back off and get distracted by this outside arena. Cleanly through that serpentine, nicely allowing the rein into that walk work so she can show off the walk. And looking like this horse just getting more settled, like she did for the individuals as she moved through the test. A little bit better this way, just again, not wanting to use too much neck bend through those leg yields. And again, just not quite getting that final halt. But a solid test for the Netherlands. And another solid test for Lotta to qualify her through into that freestyle final. So she should be pretty secure to go through to the final on Saturday, where she'll be riding, looking for that individual medal in the freestyle. This horse has so much power. They really do make a very nice partnership, and some big marks coming through in that test. Lotta really knowing she has to ride for it to help this Team Netherlands to get that gold medal. I'm sure they are aiming for. And we'll just wait for those scores to come through, but it looked like she was sitting on just over 71%. Which is similar, or maybe just below her score from the individual. She was on 72.533 for that individual championship. And here we go, 71.767. So she goes into 5th place in this class. So taking her through to that freestyle final on Saturday, combined with their scores from the individual. And the Netherlands go into 6th place in the team competition. But their final 3 riders will come tomorrow. And those are the 3 riders expected to score those 3 highest scores. And so Lotta would be expected to be the drop score for that. But here are the current standings. Spain out in front, having had 2 riders come forward. So really looking at Denmark from that 1 score Germany, France, Italy, the Netherlands, Belgium and Ireland, all with just one counting score at the moment. So this is the final result for the grade 3. So those scores will be combined with the results from the individual, but looking like that top 8 hasn't changed from that individual. So they will all go through for that freestyle final on Saturday. And we will have a short break and be back at 12 o'clock with the grade 2s. welcome back to day 3 of this FEI Para-Dressage European Championships, and we are on day 1 of this team competition. Grade 3 finished earlier this morning, and we move on to the grade 2 class. So 3 counting scores in this team competition, so those teams with a 4th rider have that option for a drop score. Some teams coming forward with just 3 riders, so all scores counting. And teams must have at least 1 rider from grade 1, 2 or 3. You can have more, but there must be at least 1. So 13 teams in this team competition. Netherlands looking like a firm favourite following their scores in the individual, but Germany also looking strong. And this is the current start list for this grade 2. 5 riders coming forward. And this Grand Prix B also qualify for the individual final, so all riders looking like they will qualify if they complete this test. Felix, having had to retire from his Grand Prix A unfortunately, so